If what Twitter does is surface the points and the counterpoints in the context, maybe they have something. If what they're doing is looking for the one correct narrative, that's worse. Can we agree on that? If it turns into a Wikipedia-like narrative-telling situation where there's one truth that comes out of it, that's worse. If it shows both sides and doesn't try to play favorites, just, hey, here's the argument, make up your own mind, that's better. Interesting thing, Twitter is introducing a new feature which is getting mixed reviews before anybody even sees it. That's the way things go. And the new feature is trying to get at the censorship problems. Well, not censorship so much as fake news. It's more of a fake news solution or attempted solution. Now, of course, you know from my other Periscopes that I'm always in favor of testing a new solution. So those of you who are saying, my God, it's the end of the world, this new feature will just be bad like everything else in the world, you might be right. It's entirely possible that Twitter would roll out a new feature and might make things worse. Anything could happen, right? It's an interesting world. But don't you have to first of all appreciate testing new stuff? I think you got to give it to him for that, right? I mean, you can criticize the social media platforms for a billion different things, and it would be valid, but you can't criticize them for testing solutions. That part I like, so let's keep that part. Now, what could go wrong? Plenty, right? That's the problem. What could go wrong with this new feature? So the feature, I don't know the details, but in broad strokes, it allows you to add context to other people's tweets. So if I understand it correctly, you'd be able to say, here's another story that's the counterpoint to that, or some background that would make the story look different. Now, how is that bad? Now, some people are saying, well, that we already have that. It's called comments. You can already leave a comment. But how often do you read the comments on a tweet? I mean, seriously. How often do you dig into the comments of a tweet? I do often, but not as a percentage. As a percentage of the time, I usually just read the tweets, probably 80% of the time. Now, I see what you're saying, that some of you often read the tweets. So I would say 20% of the time I dig in, and it depends on the tweet, right? If I think I understand the tweet and there's nothing to talk about, I'm not going to dig into the comments. And those are the dangerous ones. The dangerous ones are the ones that I think I know the story by reading the headline. If I'm being honest, half of the news I consume is just the headline, because the rest of the story is unnecessary, right? Most of the time the headline is all you need to know. There's nothing else beyond the headline that has any value at all, usually. Now, sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes there are lots of important nuggets in the story, but we're busy people, and I have to decide when do I dig into the comments and look for it, and when do I just read the headline and move on? So the practical reality of it is that we read the headlines and move on. Now, wouldn't it be nice if instead of having to dig through some comment that could be in a string with hundreds or thousands of comments, wouldn't it be nice if for every story that had a need for context, it was just right there? Click this button to see the other side, or click this button to see the top-rated counterpoints. Something like that. Now, I do think that there's some way to solve this problem. I'll tell you a way that probably won't work, and I saw Jack Posobiec was tweeting an old tweet of mine in which you, side by side, you could see how Wikipedia talks about the Fine People hoax, and then you can see the transcript, the actual transcript from the event, and you can see how different they are. And I don't know the current situation of the Wikipedia story about the Fine People hoax, but I was involved with at least one of the editors who was trying to fix that some time ago, and every time it got fixed to match the transcript, that's it, just fixing it to match what the transcript says, editors would re-edit it and turn it back to the fake hoax, to the hoax anyway. And it would happen almost instantly, as if somebody was just sitting on it waiting to change it back to the hoax. Now, I don't know where it is now, but at one point it was almost just where I would put it. In other words, it stated that the president said he wasn't talking about the neo-Nazis, etc. So once you say that clearly, that debunks the hoax. So, what happens if this new Twitter feature, this birdwatch, is anything like Wikipedia? It's a problem, right? Because this is a very specific, observable example where Wikipedia, because of its business model, if you can call it a business, because of its model, the public can distort the news. Now, ideally, they can't distort it forever, because there will be enough people coming in to correct it that the correction will eventually overcome any errors. And that normally is the way it works. But I think in this narrow realm of politics, the trolls or the people who want to protect the incorrect story are just too strong. There are just too many of them. So this is the one realm in which Wikipedia is difficult to self-correct because there's too much incentive to keep it incorrect, which wouldn't apply to most of its content, right? But I don't think that Birdwatch is heading to the Wikipedia model. The Wikipedia model tries to get you one story that's correct. I don't think Twitter is trying to do that, and it would be a mistake if they did. I think they're trying to show you what people say, if it's a reasonable counterpoint, and it can be expressed that way. So if what Twitter does is surface the points and the counterpoints in the context, maybe they have something. If what they're doing is looking for the one correct narrative, that's worse. Can we agree on that? If it turns into a Wikipedia-like narrative-telling situation where there's one truth that comes out of it, that's worse. If it shows both sides and doesn't try to play favorites, just, hey, here's the argument, make up your own mind, that's better. Because if somebody tweets something, let's say they believe something they saw on CNN, and I put a comment on it in our current model without this new feature, who's going to see it? Right? The people I want to persuade or inform, not likely they're going to see it. But what would happen if I made the best argument against a tweet that I thought was, a wrong narrative or interpretation? Well, if I make a really good counterpoint, the odds of my counterpoint floating up to the top should improve, right? Because it's a good counterpoint. Other people see it. They say, yeah, that's what I would say. He's saying this, the way I would say it. So I have some optimism for this feature, but I'll acknowledge there's a million ways it could go wrong. There's an awkwardness that I should just call out. Because I'm vacationing at a very nice place, I hesitate to show it to people, because if they can't vacation at a nice place, it's just sort of gross to put it in people's face. On the other hand, I do like a little bit of transparency in my life, and it would be no secret to anybody that, especially for my honeymoon, I can go to a nice place. And so I didn't think I would need to hide that from any of you, and I was hoping that some of you would enjoy the tales from Bora Bora. So last night, Christine and I were doing dinner on the beach. There were tables there as part of the restaurant, as part of the resort. And there was this fire dancing group entertaining us. And here's the funny thing. There are so few people at this resort. I don't think I've seen more than 20 people all week. And this is a place that would normally hold hundreds or 1,000 or something. But maybe 20 people I've seen in the entire resort, and it's the same couples you see every time. Now, I don't know what the actual number is. I've only seen the same 20 people. But So there are maybe 12 of us total watching this show. That's it, just 12 people watching this fire dancing show. So I thought, well, that's not nearly enough. These guys put in a lot of work to do this. Yeah, they're twirling these lit torches. So I fired up Periscope, and I just started live streaming these fire dancers, and I didn't know what to expect, but I think already there have been over 100,000 views. There were 2 different videos, so between the 2 of them, 100,000 views. Now, in terms of viewers, probably there will be 100,000 of them by the end of the day. You know, right now it's views, but there will probably be that many viewers. And I thought to myself, I wonder if these guys know that they just went international. They literally were being streamed all over the planet with just this little thing in my hand and a good cell signal, and that's it. And suddenly their show was worldwide. And here's the funny part: I don't think they know it. So yesterday, you know, they gave a show to the entire planet, tens of thousands of audience members. The only people who don't know it is the people who gave the show. Nobody told them. So I just think that's an interesting little slice of life there.